All right, we're on the record. Council meeting, Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, Township Council agenda meeting of May 1st, 2018.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin board at the municipal building and on the municipal website on December 20th, 2017, where it has remained posted since that date. A legal notice appeared in the Daily Record and the New York Star Ledger on December 27th, 2017, and was forwarded by fax to other local newspapers on December 20th, 2018. Council meetings are videotaped and aired on Public Access Channel 21 at 7 p.m. Sundays and Wednesdays, and are also available for viewing at www.parsippany.net.
Please rise for flag salute. Mrs. Grignani, if you would.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Okay, Ms. Grignani,
Present.
Ms. McCarthy,
Present.
Mr. Carriffy.
Here.
Also in attendance are Business Administrator Ellen Sandman, Township Attorney Jim Lott, Township Clerk Colette Madden. Also in the audience we have our CFO, Ann Cucci. Hi, Ann. And we have our Mayor, Michael Soriano. Council President, we have a quorum. You may begin.
Thank you. Upcoming meetings, May 17th, 2018, 7:30 p.m. regular meeting. June 12th, 2018 at 7:30 p.m. agenda meeting. Approval of minutes. Presentation reports. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Early this morning, a township employee passed away. His name was Daniel Blank. He was 60 years old. He was a supervisor at our sewer plant for over 30 years. He moved to Parsippany in 1972 before he moved to Rockaway in 1992. Our thoughts and prayers are certainly with him and his family as they go through this process. Please join me in standing for a moment of silence in memory of Daniel Blank. Thank you. Please be seated. Before I get on to any presentations, just one announcement. This past Friday was Arbor Day, and the Township of Parsippany had an Arbor Day celebration, and we received our Tree City flag again. Parsippany seems to be one of the most consistent towns in the state of New Jersey that is still a tree city, and the flags proudly are displayed underneath the American flag at both town hall flagpoles, and will be for the rest of the week. Also, because it is Arbor Day week, and in celebration of that, right over here in the middle of our hallway, there are free seedlings that have been donated. Some Cub Scouts have also wrapped them up for you. Please take one home. Please plant them. We lost a lot of trees this past winter. We're going to have to replace some of them. Okay, I would like to call up Nicholas Lemanoff. I'm going to present this proclamation to Nicholas. Whereas Nicholas Lemanoff has provided volunteer services for residents all across the township, most importantly to those who need them most. Whereas over each storm that has occurred during this year, 2018, Nicholas has provided aid in clearing numerous sidewalks and driveways of those unable to do so themselves. Whereas Nicholas has dedicated a significant portion of his free time in dedication to bettering our community through volunteer work. Now, therefore, I do present on behalf of the Parsippany-Troy Hills, proclaim the utmost gratitude from the township on this May 1st, 2018, towards Nicholas Lemanoff, and commend him for his service in support of the community. Congratulations. Oh, even the dog likes it.
I didn't know what that noise, I forgot.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, good job.
Yes. Well, Councilman DiPiero is always with us when we who work with him and care for him, respect him, are here, so. All right. Whereas, cancer is a group of diseases characterized by uncontrolled growth and spread of abnormal cells, which, if not controlled, can result in premature death. And whereas, the Relay for Life is a signature event of the American Cancer Society, whose mission is to raise funds to improve cancer survival, decrease the incidence of cancer, and improve the quality of life of cancer patients and their caregivers. And whereas at the Relay for Life events, communities in the United States and across the globe come together to raise funds to help make a difference in the fight against cancer, and whereas the greatest Morris County area residents will be joining 4 million people in over 5,000 communities throughout the United States in organizing Relay for Life events to celebrate cancer survivors and remember loved ones who are no longer with us, and to raise much needed funds for the American Cancer Society, research grants and programs to find cures and provide community and patient support to help those undergoing treatment. And now, therefore, the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills do hereby proclaim that I support the American Cancer Society's Relay for Life programs and encourage all residents to participate in the Relay for Life event scheduled for this Saturday, May 5th, 2018, at the Morristown Armory from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. I will repeat that. This Saturday, May 5th, at the Morristown Armory from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. to celebrate cancer survivors and remember loved ones who are no longer with us, and to help in raising funds to make a difference in the fight against cancer. Together, we will find a cure. Congratulations. You want to say
No,
something
that's
for a
all right.
couple minutes? Yeah, you got it? Okay. Mr. Council President, that concludes my report. Thank you for your time. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Congratulations, Nick. Thank you for everything you're doing. And of course, you guys, I mean, it goes without saying, thank you. All right, Township Council, anything?
Not
Not this time.
Township Attorney?
I have nothing, Mr. President.
Thank you. Business Administrator? Mrs. Anna?
I've asked Ann to come to this evening. We have a few things. One of the things that we want to talk about is we did distribute the budget books today, and we would like to see if you had an opportunity to see if some of the days would be available. I'm going to just ask this question, if we could possibly just think of if a Saturday works at all. I'm just throwing that out there. And the reason would be if it's something like we could start at 9 o'clock, have some bagels, break some bread, and maybe go from 9 to 12, because we'll be awake, fresh, instead of after a meeting. And then we have a date of Tuesday. I was trying to go for, the first today, and then our third meeting would have been whatever the date would be. It would be, I guess, the 15th. But I was going to try to shoot for the middle meeting, but the mayor is away. So is the date of? Can you make this a little smaller for me, Ann? Is the date of the 22nd? It's the Tuesday, the off Tuesday, May 22nd, because we want to have,
We can ask the clerk to send out those
Yes.
dates to
Well,
all
yes,
of us.
okay.
And then we
Did
can
anybody
go
here
back
have
to
any
what
dates that, you make sure he also gets dates you're away or some event is there, and just the consideration of possible Saturday? I think we only need
No
two.
good or good?
No, dates that are good.
Good.
This
And
is
then,
for
and then
what?
this way, if you
For
guys
budget.
have anything
This would be
that-
for
the
the
budget
department
meetings.
heads to come out on the budget hearing,
Dates that are
but they
good.
come
Dates
out,
that are
and
good,
then
okay.
at the end of the second
Public
day.
there?
So you'll email
Yeah, the
us, and then
public
we'll
is
just
welcome to
respond
come,
back.
yeah. We would have the public safety folks come out, we'd have the police and emergency management people come out, and we usually don't, the other smaller departments, if there's any questions, we would have them, Ann or I will answer them at the meeting, but it's usually the large departments because we think we can provide the information back to you within a reasonable amount of time, any questions that do arise, and that it would, take, usually it's 2 meetings. The last 4 years, we've done it in 2 meetings. Okay.
Yeah, there's just, well, getting some information, so
Yeah, I'll
hopefully
get that
we'll
to you.
have all that information before we start that, okay? Okay.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I know that you have met with the finance
And,
director.
and after you get the books, please contact me or Ellen,
All
you
right.
know.
And if we need another meeting, we can do that?
Yeah, we usually put 3,
No,
set.
no, I'm talking about prior to actually.
Oh, okay.
setting up
Oh,
the
yeah.
beginning.
All right. But usually it's 2 meetings do cover it because we do a lot of work ahead of time. And, we want any of your questions answered because, some of them are very technical and, there's a lot of work that went into the book. Yeah, and while I'm at it, I want to thank Ann. I want to thank Ann Gainey. I want to thank Kim and Ashley from the finance and my Stacy from my office. It's definitely a labor of love. It would have to be because you wouldn't want to just do this. The other thing I want to thank all the department heads because they're very caring in what they present, and they know that they're asking for those things that they truly feel they need to provide the services to our public. So they've worked hard on that. So they'll come out and defend and support what they've been requested. I will have the utility people out as well, the sewer and water and golf, because of the nature of them as an integral part of our community. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
The only other thing is, as we proceed through the work at hand, one of the things that's an element of the budget, and that is the library. We have had meetings with Janice and with Emily, the councilwomen, with regard to their coverage and the cost of that coverage, and we're working towards very much working together. We just passed out some documentation because it was requested, and we're ready to still sit down and talk about that. I know that Jane was away this last week and part of this week, so I would hope that we can get back at the table again, just to work with them in concert, because it's just one Parsippany, whether it's an autonomous body or the school district. We do try to work together because, again, it's one budget and one community. So that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Township Clerk?
Just a correction, Council President, for the record, under D, upcoming meetings, it states 5/17, it's actually 5/15, because that is a Tuesday. 5/17 would be a Thursday. That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, engineering report. FEMA hazard mitigation grant project. I guess I am happy, along with
Yeah,
everybody
yes,
else.
yes, yeah.
I am
We're all
happy to
happy,
report that all work related to this grant has been completed. All 7 reimbursement requests have been paid, totaling $5,619,465,081. This project was a team effort and consumed many hours of time from numerous departments such as engineering, zoning, building, purchasing, and finance. Could not have been completed if there were not for very dedicated employees who worked tirelessly on this project and other individuals that made sure normal operations of these departments continued. I am very proud of everyone's commitment, those who put their heart and soul into this long and challenging project to help those most affected by the storm.
Yeah, I just would like to, on that note, I did try to keep you posted, but we did receive a check, just the last check, about $250, something like that, $250,000. So that check has been received. So that document is true, and we received all the funding that we requested. It's not to the tune of 100%, but whatever was allowable, I think it's around 75% of that. So I know Ann's happy. Yeah, and so are we all.
Were the members of OEM also assist in that? Or no?
They gave some of the receipts and follow-up information, but basically it had to be, the work that had to be done was a very arduous task. We had people, like I mentioned at some of the last meetings, Mike Hardy was very gracious in allowing his Julie to help with working with Karen and the people in Ann's office and my office. I mean, it was painstaking going through all the documentation, but we put it together, and I think finally when they realized, oftentimes you go and you have somewhat of a consultant help you, and I think they were pretty much surprised that what they thought was going to be the helpful part of the consultant did not happen. So it was a heavy lift to begin with, but without the consultant. But once they finally realized, I guess a year and a half ago, we no longer worked with them. We said, it's us, we are us. It was the town that had to pull it together, and we did, and it was a great teammanship. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, most of the reimbursements were for the raising of the homes and the labor that was involved in that, okay? Not necessarily the emergency parts of it, but more the cost of raising homes, of reconstructing, of buying out all the properties that were no good anymore and knocking down homes. So that's where the big majority of the money came from, not necessarily the labor from the OEM. We had collected that a long time ago. So that's what that grant was for.
Okay. No, I was just wondering, did they assist in helping water problems? Okay. All right, major soil moving permit, Caggiano Properties LLC, Block 393, Lot 1. The planning board has recommended approval of a major soil moving permit in conjunction with the site plan application, 272 Parsippany Road. This office has reviewed the application and recommends the Township Council approve the permit. We recommend the Township Council approve the permit by resolution. Church of the Living Grace Performance Guarantee Release, Block 740, Lot 4. The developer completed all site work in accordance with the approved plans. Inspections were made during the course of the construction of this office. Has no objection to the release of the performance guarantee in the form of a letter of credit, number 20008006. A resolution will need to be adopted by the Township Council. Mike Fitzpatrick and Son Incorporated Performance Guarantee Release, Block 737, Lot 2. The developer completed all site work in accordance with the approved plans. Inspections were made during the course of construction, and this office has no objection to the release of the performance bond, number B1174185. A resolution will need to be adopted by the Township Council. Knoll Road Improvement Project. The bid opening for Knoll Road Improvement Project will be held on May 3rd. This project is for the improvements to Knoll Road from Vale Road to Buckingham Road and includes drainage improvements, curb installation, and roadway reconstruction. We anticipated construction to begin in June. If acceptable bids are received, we will make our recommendation that the Township Council award the project at the May 15th meeting. Mount Tabor Area Streets Phase 3 Improvement Project. The bid opening for the third phase of the Mount Tabor Area Streets will be held on May 1st. This project is for the reconstruction of Strobridge Avenue between West Morris Avenue and St. John's Avenue. Summerfield Avenue between Strobridge Avenue and West Park Place. Heading Place between Strobridge Avenue and Wesley Place. Wesley Place between Summerfield Avenue and West Morris Avenue, and Morris Avenue between Wesley Place and Bohm Avenue. Fletcher Place between Morris Avenue and Dickerson Road. Whitefield Place between Morris Avenue and Dickerson Road. Bohm Avenue between Morris Avenue and Dickerson Road, and Simpson Avenue between Wesley Place and Bohm Avenue. The project includes significant drainage improvements, curb construction, and the reconstruction of the roadways. We anticipated construction to begin sometime in June. If acceptable bids are received, we will make our recommendation to Township Council, award the project at the May 15th meeting. Bids taken, 419, 2018 road resurfacing curb and sidewalk program, April 24th. Phase 1 rehabilitation of the Smith Baldwin House, April 25th. Road reconstruction project, Lake Parsippany, April 26th. Road reconstruction project, Mount Tabor. To be taken, May 3rd, Road reconstruction plan, Knoll Road, Vale Road to Buckingham Road. May 10th, supply to Manage Palmer for the wastewater treatment plant. Quotations, proposals, qualifications. April 25th, fireworks display services. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to open up the public hearing.
Second.
Motion. Motion made.
Motion made by Mrs. Grignani, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call. Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Okay, floor is open to the public.
Okay, if they wish to come forward, please state your name and address, sign in. You'll be given 5 minutes.
Ken Dolsky, 21 Winfield Drive. I have two things. One is just some information, and the other is a question on one of the resolutions. Some of you may remember back in, I think it was 2012, 2013 timeframe, JCP&L was told that it had to build a new power line between its Whippany substation and Montville, known as the reliability line, or whatever they called it. And it gave a lot of homeowners a lot of distress, and eventually they ended up taking a different route that was very beneficial to most of the homeowners that would have been impacted in Parsippany. And then Montville sued them, and then they had to go to the DEP, and I've been following this, and they finally got DEP approval, and so they started building this in the first quarter of this year. Now, we haven't, so I don't know if anybody here is aware of that, but they have permission now to build. Part of it starts in Whippany, so they may be building that part. I really don't know. But eventually, they're going to go through Parsippany behind the Arlington Plaza Shopping Center, and it will cross Edwards Road. There's a section of about 100 feet between some houses where I believe that pipeline, that power line is going to be built. So I don't know if those homeowners know what's going on. I assume that they had to have been notified by JCP&L. Don't know what they've done, but I just wanted to let you know that after years of litigation and whatever they went through, they now have permission from the DEP to build. So it's going to happen. So if you want to do anything, alert homeowners or anything like that, just wanted to let you know. The question I have is on the consent agenda. I see we have a resolution. The first resolution authorizing the use of funds from the Affordable Housing Trust for services of a special regional master in the township's affordable housing declaratory judgment action. I have to admit, I have no idea what this is, but I really just wanted to ask if somebody could explain to me what's involved here. I'm not really that concerned about spending the money as much as I would just like to know what this declaratory judgment action is.
I'm going to defer to the attorney.
Sure. This is the result of the Round 3 Supreme Court decision from about 2015. Every judicial vicinage has an assigned Mount Laurel judge that is assisted by a Mount Laurel master, and each of the municipalities that filed a declaratory judgment is obligated to share in the cost that is used to pay the special master, that is the advisor to the judge.
Okay, so it's not in any way, shape, or form a negotiation or a settlement of any obligations for
No, that's
housing
correct.
For Parsippany, just
Right,
to pay
right,
this
right.
special master.
Right. That process is ongoing, but this resolution does not authorize settlement. It's just a payment for the special master's time.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, my name is Zahid Hussain. I live in Glenman's Common, 32 Gathering Court.
Sir, can you go
Yeah.
closer to the
Sorry,
microphone?
Yeah, you're speaking.
Yeah,
Hi, my name
please.
is Zahid Hussain. I live in Glenman's Common, 32 Gathering Court. And I have some concern about this residential landscaping guidelines.
Sir, can you just get a little bit closer to the microphone?
Sorry.
There you
Can you
go.
hear me now?
Much better, much better.
So, I just distributed my note, but I'm just going to read.
Can't hear him.
The side-to-side distance between my house and neighbor is around 30 feet. Between borderline. Borderline is in the middle of the 30 feet, so around 15 feet each. Currently, there's a land between these two houses. However, my neighbor wants to plant fast-growing evergreen tree. They are available in Costco. They call Leland cypress. The mature width is around 15-20 feet, and it grows up to 50 to 60 feet when it matures, close to the borderline, without considering mature size. By maturity, this tree will be around 7 to 10 feet inside my property and hanging around my house. I suggest him to plant tree away from borderline such that it does not protrude into my property, but he ignored my concern. So I reached out to Township Zoning Department, raising my concern, and asked for guideline on planting trees and their buffer spacing from borderline. They acknowledged my concern. However, they told me that there is no ordinance which define size buffer spacing for residential single-family houses like Glenmont Commons, where I live. However, Township has guidelines for residential commercial zone, which defines mature trees should be at least 5 feet away from the borderline. They advised me to raise this concern in the council meeting and request for guidelines for landscaping and buffer spacing from borderline for residential homes, similar to just like Glenmont Commons. So my request is consider providing landscaping guideline or ordinance to zoning department for residential existing single-family houses, which clearly defines type and mature size of tree while planting closer to borderline and particularly closer to houses. Also, buffer spacing from borderline to avoid mature tree protruding into neighbor's property, and also ability to survey the tree while it's growing. Also, any fire and safety concern for planting huge trees closer to house. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to, I couldn't hear, and I'm just looking for the paper that I did get a copy of.
Here.
Okay. Thanks, he's going to give me that. Coletta was kind enough to make copies for the gentleman.
Mr. Locke, do you
What
have one of
department
these?
did you
I
go
do.
to?
Okay.
Where did you go to find out this information?
Zoning department.
You did to go to the zoning?
There's a person, Michael or Mike.
Yes, Mike, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So he talked to his supervisor, and they say there are no such guideline. And I worked with him in the E-code. The general statement, any buffering should be followed using a standard zoning and compliance, but there is no specific code.
Okay.
However, this is only for the residential and commercial zone.
Okay,
There is clearly defined, they should be 5 feet away from the borderline.
correct. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, it is fairly typical that municipal zoning codes do not regulate landscape planting on residential properties. That's usually left to the discretion of the homeowner. We can refer to the township planner to see if she has a recommendation.
Okay.
Okay?
And that's what we'll do. I have
Yeah.
this now, and I will, is your name and number on here,
Well-
sir?
I have my-
If you could just sign in.
If you sign in and. put
Yeah,
your
if you just
telephone
leave your
number.
name and telephone number in that sheet, and we'll reach out to you.
Right.
Yes, and we'll have your number then.
Now, there are instances where I've seen the Township Environmental Commission, not here, but in other communities, have a recommended list of plantings,
Yeah,
but it's advisory only.
yeah.
So, but, we can go ahead and refer the issue to the township planner
Yeah.
to see whether or not we need to adopt a standard.
I will make sure she gets it tomorrow, sir.
I can write my cell number.
Oh, yeah, 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 then I know I got it. Not that. Thank you very much. Good job.
My name is Bob Venezia. I live at 102 Brooklawn Drive. I'd like to make some Final comments on the ordinance to issue $4 million in bonds for the replacement of generators at the sewer utility. To start off, I'd like to thank Councilman Peterson, who's not here tonight, unfortunately, for asking the question of why bonding for the full amount was preferable to using some pay-as-you-go money. The rather lengthy response offered many reasons, but in my opinion, only one of them was valid. The main reason given is not in dispute. That is, it's often desirable to spread the costs of long-term capital improvements with long-term debt. By doing so, newer residents get to share the cost of equipment that will be benefiting them in the future. On the other hand, the other reasons that were given range from marginally true to downright misleading. One example, it was implied that the 4 municipalities that purchase sewer services from Parsippany prefer to pay for long-term capital improvements over their lifetime. By itself, that statement is true. But there was no mention that these municipalities vigorously object to the practice of transferring sewer surplus money to Parsippany's general budget, and then bonding with the sewer utility for the same amount that was just transferred. Montville Township even threatened to sue Parsippany in order to claw back a percentage of the money that had been transferred in previous years, as well as put a halt on Parsippany making similar transfers in the future. I'm not sure what happened to that lawsuit, but I think that Montville has a good case. Second, the use of long-term bonding to promote the cost sharing of long-term equipment is wiped out once you shift sewer surplus to the general budget. Here's how that works. Suppose you have a general budget of $73 million, of which $71 million is funded by taxes and $2 million by using sewer surplus. Since the newer residents did not contribute to the sewer surplus, in effect, they are not paying for the full amount of the services they will be receiving under the general budget. Thus, the $2 million extra that they will be paying on the sewer side is offset by the $2 million they won't be paying on the general budget side. So the stated goal of equitable cost sharing is not achieved. Finally, the idea that the cancellation of $4 million of authorized bonds, coupled with the issuance of $4 million in actual bonds on the market, somehow constitutes a wash, is false and misleading. Issued debt requires principal and interest payments, and that raises taxes. Authorized debt doesn't cost taxpayers a single penny. In fact, payments on bonds issued are the same no matter if you cancel $4 million in authorized bonds, $10 million in authorized bonds, or no authorized bonds at all. In summary, there are valid reasons to match long-term bonds with long-term capital improvements, but there is no credible justification for using long-term bonding to pay for short-term expenses in the general budget. By using surplus from the off-budget sewer account, the governing body is in effect charging the taxpayers of Parsippany $2 million more than the 2% general budget cap would normally allow. It's amazing how creative both Republican and Democratic administrations can get when it comes to spending other people's money. The mayor of Montville saw right through this accounting manipulation, and he objected. It's time that the taxpayers of Parsippany come to the same conclusion and hold you all accountable. Thank you.
You should respond.
Thank you.
I'm going to try to respond to that because, in all due respect, you're mixing apples and oranges here. First of all, the towns that participate in the sewer only pay cost. They have nothing to do with the surplus. They pay a percentage of the cost. Their surplus, they have their own surplus that's generated from ratepayers. So they have nothing to do with the township's surplus or fund balance. Nothing. Okay?
Aren't they paid the same rate
No.
as
No. The towns pay a percentage of the cost. That's it, depending on their flows. So say you have 1 million gallons of flow, their percentage is based on their particular amount. So say Montville has 250,000 gallons per day, and so they pay 25% of the cost of the plant only. They don't pay for any of the pipes. They don't pay for any of the outside work, okay? So that's a very complicated calculation that's been done for almost 40 years. There's nothing to do with surplus, so nothing is generated from them. Okay, that's just right there, the start of that. I just want to straighten that out.
Yeah, no, and the fact that you're saying that he saw, when you said that they saw right through it, they weren't thinking that you would get the money, they wanted the money.
Yeah,
The town
they
people
want,
would not get the money.
yeah, they want the money.
They want the money.
But they want to share in the township surplus. So if you went into their budget or their audit, you're going to see Montville and all 4 towns have their own surplus. Where does that come from? Where does their fund balance come from? From what they charge their ratepayers. So we process for them their sewage. We charge them cost. They then charge their ratepayers, similar to the way we do, and generate a fund balance. So Montville has a fund balance in their sewer. Okay? You see, that's where it comes from. It has nothing to do with the town.
But also say the other thing that you're getting the auditor, which is what the thing you just did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's important. Which, the thing you have a new person gonna be coming in into that, that's important. So about the numbers, if the thing was 40 years old. I mean,
Yeah, well, what happened was we're meeting with all 4 towns. I'll let you know this. We met with Montville, and we've decided we're going to have an outside auditor come in and analyze, through a cost analysis, of how much of the township's expenditures for the plant is attributable to each of the towns. Those percentages right now were established almost 40 years ago. So we've all agreed, all 5 towns, which includes us, that we're just getting to a point where we can get an outside firm that is not our auditors or any of the other 4 towns are going to come in and analyze the plant and the expenditures, and we're going to rewrite the contracts as we speak. So Montville met with us. We're working with them. They're actually helping us rewrite the RFP for that as well. So that suit is gone, and there's nothing to it at this point because we're working together to fix that.
I don't know whether you want to talk about he asked about the cancellation. I think he's honing in on the 4 million, but
Yeah, that's right.
how much more did you cancel before?
We canceled almost. All right, what happens with cancellations? Cancellation, why we cancel, yes, it hasn't been authorized, it's authorized. What does that do? It reduces your borrowing power. The bond rating agencies look at that number and say, okay, they have already authorized an extra $12 million or $14 million, and that reduces your rating. So what we did is we analyzed all those open, what we would call not issued, but authorized debt. And we canceled $12 million worth of authorized debt before we came here. And we decided to give the opportunity to our new council to decide whether they should approve the new ordinance. So that $4 million could have probably gone on to an old ordinance that was already authorized, but we felt it was best and open and transparent that we would cancel the old debt or authorizations, mind you, and ask the council to then approve an ordinance for the new stuff. Okay, not going on an old ordinance. So that's why we did that. And it also gives us a better bond rating because we don't have all these open debt items, okay, or authorizations. Does that answer it? I hope it answers your question.
And maybe that would be best. He still doesn't.
I'm good.
Nick Homiak from Lake Hiawatha. I was just wondering what I presented to the council last week about the legislation at the Assemblywoman, the smart container, to try to limit and curtail certain plastics as in support, to write a resolution to the state or to the governor's office in support of the reduction of plastic production and hopefully the return of materials to their source. I don't know if you read the whole legislation, but if you read it, there's a lot of good things in there. It's like turning back the clock a little bit the way it used to be, except now where there's so much plastic that, but my whole point of saying that was, as similar to the marijuana issue, you were going to send a resolution down here in about this particular bill in the curtailment of sales of plastic waste, over-engineered convenient products that there's no use for, and they're polluting the whole planet. So hopefully you'll come up with a resolution in support of that woman and her cause, Mrs. Tuttle or Huddle. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, see no one else come forward, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion?
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Grignani, seconded by Mrs. McCarthy. Roll call, Mrs. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Okay, non-consent agenda, resolutions, none. Ordinances, status of adopted ordinances, ordinances 2018:03, 2018:04, 2018:05 were adopted on April 17th, 2018, mayoral action April 18th, 2018, and the effective date is May 13th, 2018. Introduction, second reading, ordinance 2018:07, Mrs. Grignani.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 2017:05, entitled An Ordinance Establishing White-Collar Salary Ranges for the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills. The notice for the ordinance above was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, on April the 20th, 2018. This ordinance was introduced at the April 17, 2018 regular meeting. Motion to accept that ordinance 2018:07 be heard in its second and final reading by title only by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Grignani, seconded by Mrs. Carriffy. Roll call, Ms. Carriffy? Ms. Carriffy, sorry. Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy? It throws me
Yes.
off when we don't have a full group of people. I apologize.
Motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2018:7 by myself.
Second.
All right, let's see if we could do this right now. Mrs. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
The floor is open to the public on this ordinance only.
Seeing no one come forward, motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 2018:07 by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Grignani, seconded by Mrs. McCarthy. Roll call. Mrs. Grignani?
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy? Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
The floor is closed.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon. Be therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading, and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution above by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Grignani, seconded
one
by
more shot
Mrs. McCarthy. Roll call. Mrs. Grignani?
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
The motion has passed.
Okay, consent agenda. I'd ask the council members to take a look at the consent agenda. Have any questions, concerns? Any questions or concerns?
No.
Any of
No.
those?
No.
Okay. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion made.
Second?
Motion made by Mrs. Grignani, seconded by Mrs. McCarthy. Roll call, Mrs. Grignani,
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Have a good night,
Good
everyone.
night, everyone.
Good night.